I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
You are listening to the Flatliner Kennels podcast with Chris Jobman. My name is Elliott, and I am here as the co-host producer, but the content is the big dog. How's it going, big dog?
What's up, big guy? How are you, bud?
I'm doing all right. Finally got a good hunt. I got a whole week off, and all the hunts suck until the last hunt saved the whole thing.
Yeah, you guys have probably got a bunch of birds down there now, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Now that I'm back to work, we got millions of them. I can just get reports from everyone. Oh, look, with pictures, everyone's killing them, and I'm sitting there at work. But whatever.
Yeah, we're still waiting for our big push of mallards. That weather that hit North Dakota and South Dakota, that helped us a little bit. We got a lot of lessers here. They'll move out pretty soon. Waiting for the big ones to get here, but we need some weather in Montana. That's what we get a lot of our birds from eastern Montana. They kind of angle down towards us, but they're coming. Yeah. I don't want them here too soon.
Yeah. So I didn't mention this before we started recording, but I saw something come through about AKC and Silver Labs and diluted. Did you see that?
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on with that. Everything. I'm trying not to be on Facebook as much. It's not working very good, but it. I think that has something to do with they're saying silvers and charcoals and all them are labs now, which is not the case. It's just a money grab. And I know there's people trying to do petitions to get that stopped. But, here's the thing. AKC doesn't care. They're just want the money. But UKC, on the other hand, they're doing it right. It's kind of a pain in the butt how they do it. But if you have a litter of puppies and those parents are not UKC registered, so it's not a UKC registered litter. In order to register that puppy, you have to take pictures, 3 pictures, a front and each side picture, and send it in before they'll register it. Because you cannot register a silver lab or any kind of dilute lab at all with UKC. So it's kind of a pain in the butt when we get dogs here to train, because we got to take the pictures and get their UKC registrations. But you know what? The way it's going, I'd rather do that than just allow any kind of mutt, to get registered like that,
Right.
Again, I know there's good labs, silvers and stuff out there, but we're not going to get into that. I'm a purist, and I like blacks, yellows, and chocolates in that order. But it's not right what they're doing. I think a lot of it has to do with the Labrador Retriever Club or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't get
that's what they said.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, we got a bunch of questions, man. We're backed up with questions, so we're going to get to as many as we can over about the next hour. Anything else you want to hit before we jump into that?
Let's do it. Everything's good here at the kennel. Tanner and Jammer are training hard and getting after one of them young dogs, and let's get into these questions and get going.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and hit our partners real quick. Let's start with Merino Decoys. Have you gotten he sent me, Mike Marino, who runs Merino Decoys, he sent me one decoy, which is just phenomenal. I'm like, I'm not hunting that thing. That thing's going up in the muck room. Have you gotten any of those yet?
I ordered a dozen from him, and he's doing them right now. And now I did buy the urn for my son Caden. His dog Spank passed away, and I had him do an urn. And it is, Elliott, when people don't need to understand the quality of these decoys, they're incredible. They are absolutely incredible. And I ordered a dozen of those for my personal use. And we'll do them on, like, with Eileen and I go, or my boys go. We'll go like special hunts. And Chris Aiken, one of my best friends, he ordered 24 of those for his club. And I think Mike is taking him down there personally, and they're going to hunt over them.
Oh, man, they are absolutely gorgeous. Mike has won several awards for his carving work. And, man, if you guys want, I think he's going to make more sales on the urns than he is the decoys. And the decoys are gorgeous, but the urns. So what is your urn that you got for your son? What's that look like?
So it's a mallard drake. It's not a teal. Sorry, but it's a mallard drake. But what he did was we got Spank's ash. Spank was a grand champion, master hunter, and master national hunter, emanation. Super nice dog, and him and Spank were really close. So what I did was I got his ashes, and I sent them to Mike, some of them, and then Caden, we don't shoot 12 gauges, but he did when he was younger. So I sent him an empty 12 gauge shell, an empty 20 gauge shell, an empty 28, an empty 410. And he put those ashes in each one of those shells and then sunk them in the base of it. It's hard to explain. I wish I had it with me here, but he sunk them. So if this is the decoy, he put one here and the bottom of. I know you guys can't see this, but put one here, 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 and here, and he sunk them in and sealed them. So now he's got 4 things of ashes inside of shotgun shells that he hunts over. So his first duck hunt this year, I let him go to the creek, is a spot we own just west of here. And he took that decoy and put it out in the water. So he hunts over Spank when he goes duck hunting.
Yeah.
And he put that decoy out where Spank made his last retrieve of his career.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, if your dog passes away and you want to do something special with the ashes, you can find these urns and decoys at Marino, MARINO, decoys.com. It'll be in the description of where you're listening to your podcast. But if you want to shoot over some gorgeous, fantastic looking decoys, you can get those. But I think the urns, man, I know when Georgie passes, I can promise I'm going to pick one up from him.
It is absolutely. I can't tell you, the listeners, I cannot tell you how nice these are. When I saw this decoy and he sent it to me, it brought tears to my eyes. It is the coolest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure and check that out. Other partner we want to remind you guys about is Mammoth Guardian Dog Crates. Guardian 15 for 15% off. It's a really good crate. You get the roll cage attachment, and it's really safe in the back of your truck, strapped in. It's a slick little product. I know Chris uses the wheels on the bottom of attachments. I didn't put those on mine, and wheels the carts around his shop. So that's mammothpet.com. If you just want to go on to Amazon, you can just search for Mammoth Guardian Dog Crate. It's a really good product, but you're not going to have to break the bank to pick it up. So go and check that out.
They're super cool. They're super cool. I recommend it. I was a little bit skeptical when I first saw them, or, I saw the pictures of them, but then when I got my hands on them, they're actually really, really cool. They're a cool design. I love the gates.
Yep. And the roll cage is what takes it to the next level.
For sure.
It's really, really cool. All right.
And what's nice about the roll cage is you can take the roll cage off.
Yeah.
And if you just have it in your house or your shop or something, but I highly recommend the roll cage in the back of your pickup.
Yeah, that's what I do when I'm, because sometimes I've got too much gear in the bed of my truck, so I need a kennel that goes inside of my truck.
Yep.
So with the roll cages off, it slips right in, and then if I want it like I'm traveling, then they go on and you can strap them down in the back. So great product. All right, you ready for some questions?
Let's do it.
All right, these are random order off of Facebook. Michael Bird. Upcoming duck season here in Tennessee, and a lot of people will be getting their dogs back from the trainer. What are good drills or setups to do with your dog on the days that you can't hunt when you get home from work or before work? So I guess like the transition from trainer to hunting.
That's a hard question to answer because I don't know the dog's level. I don't know the training. I don't know how advanced it is. The only thing I can tell you is, and thank you for asking the question, but I would highly recommend asking your trainer what to do with your dog. I can't give you any advice on it because I don't know the dog and don't know the level. But I would just say, just to throw a blanket response out there, work on your obedience, work on your communication, put them in hunting scenarios. Don't just take your dog for the first time opening morning or the first morning and throw him in a box and in the dark and say, okay, here we go. I would take him out a few days before that, get him used to your area where you hunt, if you hunt in a certain area, and get him used to that. But I would highly recommend asking your trainer first because he's the one that knows the dog the best, and that's what you paid for.
One thing I've always been curious about, I've never had a dog professionally trained, is that transition of the bond between the two. Like, if you're working a dog and you're training it all the way up through and then it transfers back to the owner, what does the owner need to do to make sure that the dog is respecting that owner who has not spent as much time and is bonding to that person.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing that we run into so we get them all trained up, and they do great. We video them when they go home, and I always tell the owners that please video this dog demo, like video the demo. That way you can see what we do and the commands, and because everybody's like, yeah, I got it, and that drives me nuts because you don't have it. If you had it, you would send it to us. But video that thing when you go get the dog. The biggest thing you got to understand something is you always will have that bond with your dog. But when the owners come and get their dogs, they always want to work them with us, having us watch. And we've done that, but I'm going to tell you that's really, really hard to do because the dog is so excited that the owner is back. They don't listen. They just don't listen. And if we're there, they want to listen to us and they want to play with the owner. So it's a hard thing to do, but we've done it. It's very, very hard. The biggest thing is, I know you're excited to get your dog home. I get it. You missed them, but you got to understand it's not your son and it's not your daughter. It's a dog, and you need to be the boss because and you know this as much as anybody. I can grab Georgie and run her, and she's going to act completely different with me than you because I'm going to establish control immediately, and we don't have that quote-unquote loving relationship where she's gotten away with a few things. And that happens with every dog. They're like, well, they won't run for me like they do for you. Well, that's not going to happen because I can't go to your job and do your job the same way that you do, right? So you gotta get that respect. They have to, I don't want to say fear you. That's not the right word for it. They have to respect you, and you have to make them respect you. If you don't, they're going to run all over you. And then I get the phone calls like, this damn dog won't do anything. I'm like, did you watch your video? Well, I didn't look at that. Well, watch your video that you took. The dog won't go get it. I'm like, yes, it will. We took a video. We showed you how to do it. Now the dog is there's certain dogs that will go get a bird no matter what. It could be Charles Manson running them, and they don't care. And there's other dogs that are a little bit quirkier, and you have to know how to pull the choke and pump the gas to get them running. And those dogs are hard for the owners because we know that little, the weirdness that they have or the quirks that they have, and we've worked around it, and we know that. A lot of these owners will get them, and they're quirky, and they don't know how to handle their quirks. And then they just think the trainer did a bad job or the dog isn't any good. That's not the case. You need to learn how to read the dog. And so the more time you spend with them, the better you are. And I would highly recommend when they get home with their owners, do formal obedience with them. Put them on a leash, make them heel, make them sit, make them come into heel, throw bumpers, make them be steady. Build that communication and build that, that respect where you're the boss and they're not the boss. And the biggest problem we have a lot of times is the male, the husband of the family, it goes two ways. They're too firm. They're like, sit. They're yelling at him 2 feet away. So they're too firm and trying to get him to be a robot. And then the wife and the kids aren't firm enough. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So 1 second the dog can do whatever he wants, and the next second it can't. The whole family needs to get on the same page as far as the dog doesn't get fed table scraps in the kitchen. It goes in a crate when it gets fed. There's rules, and that family needs to follow those rules. And you know it much as anybody. The family needs to follow the rules because I'm going to tell you, you take your kids to grandma and grandpa's for 2 weeks, and then when you go pick them up, you can't even catch them. Right?
Yeah, little different.
It's the same thing with a dog. If you let them get away with murder, they're going to push every envelope.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying be mean, but I'm just saying they've got to respect you, and that comes with discipline. So
consistent family rules, and maybe from what I'm hearing is it's not so much what drills the owner's doing, but just establishing that relationship and knowing how to handle the dog, being firm and consistent, house rules, just setting it up where the dog realizes, okay, this is kind of like the trainer, same type of relationship.
Yeah, correct. And dogs really like a routine. Like they like to know their boundaries. Hey, if I do this, this is what happens. If I do this, this is what happens. If dogs don't have any rules and they don't have any boundaries, they're miserable. They don't know what to do with themselves. They're getting in trouble all the time. Then you're miserable. They have to have a set of rules. And just because you put your dog in the crate while you guys eat dinner, that's not mean. They have to have their alone time as well. So you're right. They have to there's got to be a set of rules. Everybody's got to jump on board and do that the best you can. Now, if you're having troubles with the dog when the dog goes home, don't get on Facebook and have every damn Facebook trainer jockey give you advice. Call the trainer and talk to them about it. Or if you're close to the trainer, go back to the trainer's place and work with them. Like, hey, this is okay. Well, he's doing this, and now let's do that. 'Cause then when you do that, when you go back to the trainer after the dog's been home for a few weeks or months or however long he's been home, you have a relationship with the dog. Now the dog is listening to you, but that's not quite as good as it normally would. But now you can work the dog in front of the trainer because you're not just showed up that day and is new. See what I'm saying? So go back and maybe work on some things. But whatever you do, don't get on Facebook and start. Everybody's an expert, and I guarantee if you're a great dog trainer, you're not on damn Facebook. You're busy training. So talk to your trainer about your dog.
All right, now I'm going to hop in on a question for myself here in front of Trevor Hayden. He's the next one. But we've been having some paw injury problems over the past month, like punctures in between toes. You know, I'm sure you've seen this where the paw looks like someone blew it up with a helium balloon. That paw just goes, and then it kind of decreases in size about as quick as it grows. So I had this puncture, and then maybe I went out a little too soon. It happened again. It happened on her back foot. I'm having all these paw issues with her. When you have those issues, what are the treatments that you do for them? And how long after that paw they stop limping, the paw is back to normal size? Do you have a standard for time frame before you start hunting them? I think I hunted her a little too early after the first one.
Did you have her on any antibiotics at all?
No, I don't. I didn't take her to the vet.
So I'm not a veterinarian, but I've dealt with a lot of dog stuff. So, is she hitting willows or what is she hitting? What is she puncturing?
You know, I don't know. It was in a cattail. It was in the same marsh both times.
It could be cattails broke off underneath.
It's something right in between the toes.
So that a veterinarian is going to tell you no hunting or any water for 2 or 3 weeks. That's their standard answer, and they're probably right. But you know how we are. We're going to go hunting. So you need to get you some cephalexin. And she, at her weight, she's probably 500 milligrams of cephalexin twice a day. So you put her on the cephalexin because what'll happen is you'll puncture that and it'll blow up, like you said. Woof. And if you put her
why is it blowing up like that? I'm assuming it's blowing up and pushing stuff out.
Yeah, it's just irritated, and it's the body fighting that. Quote,
it's
unquote,
unbelievable how big they get. I mean, they
humongous.
Crazy.
And if you put her on cephalexin right away, it won't get like that. So if you do cephalexin and probably 100 milligrams of Rimadyl, so you do probably 500 milligrams of cephalexin twice a day and 100 milligrams of Rimadyl once a day, you're going to be fine. If you don't, it's just like a dog fight. It's the same thing as a dog fight. If a dog gets in a fight and it gets its leg bit, right, just a little puncture wound, that leg will blow up humongous and they'll be super limping. If you put them on cephalexin right away, that stops that.
Really?
So I think it's what it is. It's the body trying to fight whatever foreign body. And then that's another thing too. You really need to check those for foreign bodies to make sure that, you know, part of that cattail or part of that willow is not stuck in there. Yeah. And make sure it's clean and clean it out really nice and clean it out good and put her on cephalexin and go for it and just watch it.
So when the sore puffs up, do you pop it?
I have before, yes.
That's why I feel like it needs to be drained of that stuff in there.
It does. And here's one thing you've got to be really careful of. This has happened to me before on a dog. If they get a puncture like that or tear their pad or puncture like that paw will blow up, right? And if it seals over, it can explode, and that makes a mess on their feet, and they got to get stitched up, and then they're out for a while. So you got to really be careful. Okay. It'll be like a big cyst or a big zit. That thing will blow and it'll explode. And then you've got open wounds and you've got stitches, and then you're not hunting. So you need to try to get you some
gently. Try to pop it when it gets like that.
You could do that or poke it, but there's also could be a foreign body in there, so you got to be careful of that. I would put her on cephalexin, and if it doesn't go down drastically, pretty quick, a day or two, you might have a foreign body in there, and then you might have to get taken out.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
be careful it doesn't get too big and just explode, and then you got a mess on your hands, and it's a mess.
She's definitely on the mend now. It's regular size. She's back to not limping, but I'm just thinking time frame,
It all depends on the dog, and she's such a freak that she'd go hunting the way she is, and she doesn't even care. But those dogs like her, you got to be really careful of because they'll hurt themselves, and they don't even care. They just go,
Yeah. All right, moving on. Trevor Hayden, how to keep yourself calm and handle nerves at the line at a test. My dog is already really amped up to run, and I'm trying to not let my nerves affect her. I know the dogs feed off that. I've only run 9 tests.
Yeah, they do feed off of that, Trevor. And the biggest thing it's just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you're at it, and the calmer you'll be doing it. So I always try to tell people, smooth is fast. And if you think you're slow, you probably need to be slower. So be real smooth, be real deliberate, keep don't get fast. If you start getting fast and you may not even know you're getting fast, but if you're starting to get fast and kind of out of control, your dog is going to, especially if you have a high drive dog, they're going to read on that in a heartbeat. So you really need to slow down and be really deliberate. And so if you have a fast dog, you slow down. If you have a slower dog, you speed up and make it more exciting for them. But the more times you go to the line, the better you are you're going to get at it. I mean, Trevor, I'll go to a master test. I'll go to a master test, like a double master test, and I'll go to the line 150 times in 3 days. So, think about that. 150 times in 3 days.
Yeah.
So it just takes a lot of time. And there's certain people are they thrive. Like I kind of am like that. I thrive off the nerves and the pressure. That and we've talked about it before. That sharpens me and hones me. So I like that. If you're not nervous and you don't feel pressure, then obviously you need to do something else because obviously it doesn't bother you that much. But I thrive on that. Some people don't like it. Some people just cave to it. But the more you do it, the better you're going to be.
I swear, this year, finally, I started calming down a little bit. I bet it took me 10, 11, 12 hunt tests. I finally was thinking, if I can't feel calmer at these, I'm going to quit. Because it became like it wasn't fun. It was too much. Once I kicked the dog off, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But that, all of the dumb little procedures and, I got to make sure I do that. From the time I go to the holy line, the line, it was so stressful to me that I was like, this isn't fun. But finally, I've kind of been able to enjoy it. This last time.
And that's the maturity. That's your maturation as a handler, right? You'll be nervous and and here's the biggest thing I always try to tell people: you can be as nervous as you want. Think of yourself as a duck, totally calm on the surface, but under the surface, those feet are going 100 miles an hour and nervous as hell. So you need to try to act like that and slow your breathing and calm yourself down. And you got to understand something. It's not life or death. Your dog loves you. You love your dog. It's not a big deal if you don't pass. I know it's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. Time off of work, money. I understand that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's supposed to be fun, and you guys need to have fun.
Yeah, it is, man. Hunt tests are a blast. They are so much fun.
When you don't have to answer to anybody, they're really fun. But when you have to answer to people, they're not so much fun.
Calls. How'd my dog do?
Exactly.
Right. All right. John Squire. He has an MH 2-year-old that I'm starting to introduce to much bigger distances. Marking has not been a problem, but control in and out around cover or water at bigger distances has not been smooth. Cast refusals, hunting cover, etc. What suggestions do you have?
So he's getting bigger and longer, adding more factors like terrain and suction and those sort of things. Just go slow. That's a hard question to answer because I don't know what the dog's doing. But you need to put him in and this is going to be a weird subject and a weird topic. This could be an entire podcast. But you need to put him in situations that are like danger zones. Like, let's just say you're running a down the shore water blind and your bank's on the left side. Don't keep that dog 20 feet out in the water and there's some cattails on the left. Don't keep that dog 20 feet out in the water because, I'm going to be safe way out here in the water because you're training, right? So put them close to the cattails where they have a chance to screw up and put them in danger, quote unquote danger, and teach them how to get out of danger. So if you get them close to the cattails, they jump in the cattails. You stop them. You call them back out. You maybe give them a correction, cast out of the cattails. But you've got to put those dogs in situations that they're going to fail, and you have to teach those dogs how to get out of those situations through attrition, through pressure, through repetition, all of the above. And you put those dogs in those situations that they're going to fail, and you teach them to get out. That's the only way you're going to get good at doing stuff like that. And you have to be willing to do that, and you have to be willing to get into a quote unquote a fight. And a lot of amateur trainers and some pros don't ever want to get into a quote unquote, that's a bad word for it, but a fight, because they want to drive home thinking they're the greatest thing ever. And they want to think their dog is the greatest thing ever. And this is really hard for a lot of amateurs to understand, is that unless you get into those fights, and once you're in that fight, stay in it. Don't let them win. Stay in it. And if you have to move up and simplify, that's fine, or bail out and go do a shorter blind. Anything you got to do to win that session. But like I said, you have to be willing to get into that fight, and you have to be willing to watch your dog fail and then teach your dog how to get out of that. Does that all make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You have to. It's never going to be perfect, but so that's what's happening a lot. That dog is probably, getting in the cover and running around and rooting around. That's on the trainer that has to control that dog, maybe with pressure, maybe with attrition, maybe going out and grabbing it a little bit, hey, listen to me, and then back up and keep going. But you got to teach that dog how to get out of trouble.
Next one is Blaine Tarnecki. Do you think Rhett Riddle should run Goose in the Grand next year?
I 100% think Rhett Riddle should run Goose on the Grand next year. He may not see the marks come out because Goose is a little teeny tiny boykin, and he ain't this tall. He's super cool, and he'd have to get out of, he rides in Rhett's truck everywhere he goes. He's like, I swear, Goose is like Rhett's spirit animal. Like it's his blankie or something. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. 100%. We need to have Blaine. You know what we should do, Blaine? You and I should pay the entry fee and have Rhett run Goose in the Grand. That would be fantastic.
Is that the dog he snuck into your house to cuddle in bed with?
No, that was Crown. That was a big black lab. But I'm going to tell you, got to watch Rhett. He'll sneak anybody. If he could have 10 dogs in his room, he would. He would. That was Crown.
Excuse me. All right, Jared Hoffman, trying to get my senior and season titles. 2 of 3 passes for season, 2 of 4 for senior. What are some good drills that you recommend a week out from a hunt test that don't include any water?
Quit running senior.
Why?
And we're gonna answer this a different way. So if your goal is an HRCH master hunter or a Grand Hunter Retriever champion, MNH, whatever, there's no reason to run junior, started, seasoned, senior, finished, master. There's no reason to do that. Because here's the thing, we fight our entire lives with these dogs not to be test-wise, which means the more tests they run, the crazier they get at a test, and they're hard to control. So we really watch that. We don't run junior and we don't run senior. We don't run them in any AKC stuff until they're ready to run master. So we come up to the HRC ranks. We do run a couple dogs that started, then we run them in season, then we run them in finished, and then they go to master. And the reason why we do that is because in HRC you could talk to your dog at the line. So a lot of dogs that are AKC only dogs, you see a lot of them dogs creeping around and being crazy because from the time that they were senior hunters, you can't talk to them at the line. So now that they've gotten bad test habits because you can't talk to them. We run them in HRC to try to instill good test habits because we can talk to them and stop the creeping and moving around. So I would not, if your goal is a master hunter and all that, don't run senior. There's no reason to do that.
So all the way up through HRC and then jump right over to master.
Jump right over to master. Yep, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. And that formula has worked really, really good for us in the last 25 years. So now, with that being said, what do I do for the week before leading up to it? I try to figure out who the judges are. And a lot of the judges I know, and every judge has a tendency, every judge has stuff that they like, every judge, and you know that. So if you know the judges, work on what their tendencies are, figure out where your test is going to be, where's the water going to be, where's the land going to be, that sort of thing, and try to simulate what you think is going to happen there, that sort of thing. And if you're going to run, let's just say you're going to run master. I do a lot of leading up to that test. I'll do a lot of really tight singles off of multiple guns, teach them to run straight, use their eyes, not their nose, go where their eyes tell them to go, that sort of thing. If you're going to run finished, right, and you have a judge that likes the big swings, like right to left, back to the middle, work on swinging with the gun, work on, focusing down the gun barrel, shooting the gun. The dog runs. I do a lot of singles when it comes to that stuff, and doubles too. But that's what I would do. And if you have dog that have line manner problems, work on going from holding blind to holding blind to holding blind till you run. So there's a lot of things that you can do. I would quit running senior though. I would wait, because especially if you got an amped up dog, holy moly, man, they're so hard to control. Because here's the thing, that's great to get a master hunter at 2 years old. That's fantastic. But are they just as good when they're 10, or are they just as they were when they were 2? Because if you run too much at a 10-year-old, you won't even be able to hardly run them, because they're so test-wise, because they ran so much stuff when they were young. Like Flash is 10 years old. He'll be 11 in April, right? He's got 10 grand passes. He only has 600 and some HRC points. So I don't run him. And now, would I like to see him in the HRC Hall of Fame? Absolutely. But he's never going to have 1,000 points, but he has 10 grand passes because he doesn't have 1,000 points.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Next one. Joe Will says, what is the judge's protocol when Eric Tizon shoots at a no bird at the Grand? What happened? I haven't heard about this.
It's a long story. Eric was running the upland. It's been a few years ago, right? And the dog broke or whatever, and he shot the bird. And anyway, it was a whole big deal. And I had to run a couple dogs for him in the upland. I passed one. The other one I didn't pass. I think the other one is still running around. But he did get a grand title on that dog, but on both of them, matter of fact. But it's a long story. Eric shot when he wasn't supposed to shoot, and the judges kind of gave him a gun safety violation, and he wasn't unsafe. He wasn't unsafe at all. He just shot up in the air, and there's a rule at the Grand that if your dog breaks, you can't shoot, and it's so hard to do. In Eric's defense, you got to blow the whistle, dog stops, and you shoot. It happens so fast that if you tweet, your dog stops, but then breaks, but you're not looking at the dog, right? Because you're looking down the gun barrel, and you shoot, and your dog is already broke, you can be out for gun safety. And it happens so fast that it's just one of those things.
I bet you Eric would have a lot to say. I haven't talked to Eric for a while. I need to reach out to him, see what he's doing. Did you see that? Some really famous. Who's that really famous singer? Bought a dog from.
Oh yeah, Post Malone.
Yeah.
Post Malone. Yeah, they bought a dog from him. That's pretty cool.
I wonder if he went to get the dog himself, or if he just sent some.
No, I think he sent people. I talked to Eric about that. I think he sent people, and then it was funny because that dog went to Post and had a weird name. I can't remember the dog's name was. It was hard to pronounce. And they didn't like the name, so they changed the dog's name because they couldn't pronounce the name. It was funny, but I don't remember what the dog's name was. But I guess the dog's doing really good. I guess Post loves it.
I didn't realize he was a duck hunter.
I think he's getting into all that hunting. Eric told me he's buying all kinds of land, and he's really getting into hunting because now he can afford to do whatever he wants. So I think those guys, he's really getting into it. He's really getting. So
did he buy a Finnish dog then?
Yeah, I think it was a Finnish dog. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I meant to talk to Eric about that, but I didn't.
And he'll tell you a lot more story about that. But but it was Post Malone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
All right, Steve Kelly. When your kennel trains waterfowl dogs, gun dogs, after basics, marking drills, etc., do you add anything to training them? Ground box, stands, dog blinds, tree stands.
Steve, we do all of it. So we do dog stands. We do dog pits, which how we hunt with barrels in the ground with the lid. Elliott's seen those. We teach them to go in and out of those. We do dog stands. We do barrels in the ground. We do if the guy's gonna be a boat hunter, we do a boat. We try to simulate everything that we can do. And speaking of Eric, I was at Habitat Flats quite a bit this year training, and he has these super cool skid blinds that he pulls around and he can train, and they're for training. And I'm going to have some of them built, and we're going to pull those around and teach, because people down south hunt a lot different than we do. You know, they put their dog in the blind, they have a little hole, they jump out the ramp. We're going to try to simulate all that kind of stuff too. But Steve, we try to do everything that we can to simulate a hunting scenario, especially the boat thing. The boat guys that are boat hunters, that's really hard to teach a dog to jump off the boat, get in swim water and swim, and then find a ramp. Find the ramp to get up. It takes a little while for them to figure out, but once they get it, it's not a big deal. So we try to do all that stuff with them.
It's amazing to me the number of guys that'll put a dog in a new hunting scenario but never simulate anywhere close to that before doing it. It's like if your dog's going to do something new, whether it's a boat or a layout blind or anything, it's like you need to work through some of that stuff.
I'm with you, man. I'm telling you what. I mean, in Colorado, you know, they do a lot of goose hunting in Colorado, and we send our young star dogs been here 4, 5, 6 months. Can't run blinds. If they see the bird fall, they'll go get it and bring it back. That sort of thing. But we don't train with 25 dozen decoys, and in Colorado they do that, and then they have these dirt holes that they call pits, and they put these wooden tops on them, but they're dirt holes, and they put them poor dogs in the bottom of that pit. And they start shooting geese, and then the dog has no idea what's going on, doesn't see a bird fall. Yeah. It's literally the worst situation you could possibly put a dog in. And then we send some of your starter dogs home around here that they're river hunters, and you saw the river. To throw a young starter dog out in that river, it's amazing to me. They'll just get the dog. They'll literally get the dog, and in 2 days, they're on a boat in a marsh in North Dakota hunting, and they're like, called me up, this damn dog won't do anything. Well, what are you doing? Well, we're in a boat, and I said, so did you practice out of the boat? No, not really. We just thought we'd get it. I'm like, come on, guys. I always try to tell them, put your dogs in situations that they're going to succeed. And if you're gonna go hunting and with 8 guys on its first hunt, that's the exact opposite to what you did. I told you not to do. Don't do that. And everybody's like, it'll be fine. It's amazing that some of this. I always tell people, put your dog in a situation that it will succeed. And if it's overwhelming for the dog mentally, say it's picked up 10 birds really, really nice, but all of a sudden you see it starting to unravel because there's excitement, put the dog away. Put it away because you want good success. You want success. And you spend all that money, time, and effort, and you just throw it to the wolves. It doesn't matter how long we train the dog. So here's a matter of fact. This is I'm glad you brought this up. So Eileen and I have been running around for the last 3 or 4 days killing all kinds of stuff. I've created a monster. She won't stop. So we started hunting Clutch, which Clutch is her dog. He's got 3 Grand Passes, a Master Hunter, and a Master National Pass. Okay? And then we got Red, who is Georgie's brother, who is a Grand Hunter Retriever champion with a Master Hunter and a Master National Pass. We took Clutch out on Saturday when it was really cold and nasty. I knew we would put him on. That was his second hunt in his entire life. And he looked like a started dog. He didn't understand the birds floating. He didn't understand all the – but you understand, he's a 3-time grand champion. And Red was the exact same way. But we took him Clutch out today, did much better. I'm taking Red out maybe in a couple of days. He'll do much better. You got to understand something, people. These are grand champions, the best hunt test dogs in the entire world. And they looked – and if I had people with me like, ooh, that's a grand champion, yeah. But they didn't look like it at even close to it because they've never been in that situation. And I didn't get upset. I didn't get mad. I was walking the water. I was teaching them how to do things. That's how you have to do it. You just can't stand back there and push buttons and scream at the dog. I was out there working with the dog, and they did fantastic. They're going to do better and better and better. And that's the best hunt test dogs in the world. So you can't just expect a dog to jump into your situation and be a master at it. It takes and I always tell this to people, it takes lots of hunting trips. And I always tell them, how many times did you hunt your dog this year? So, I hunted 50 times this year. How many birds did you pick up? Oh, he probably picked up 40. That's not even close. You need hundreds of birds, and you know this.
Yeah.
They get better and better and better. Or they can get worse if you don't keep them under control. So you
have an animal like that, and in their new circumstance, on those hunts, you need to prioritize that dog. This 100%. Dog's going to be with you on a lot of hunts. If you have to sacrifice a little bit of, putting the gun down or just prioritizing the dog in new scenarios and make the hunt secondary in the long run, it's going to pay off in spades.
100%. And I always tell people, I don't care how good your dog is. I don't care how much money you spend on the dog. When you go hunting with that dog for the first time, take you and one buddy. Put your gun down. If the dog – and here's the worst thing you can do for a young dog is teal hunt them is terrible. Dove hunting them is terrible. And like this morning, so we took Clutch this morning again. Did a great job. But early in the morning when it was dark and birds were coming in and we were shooting them in low light, Isaac and I got out and we went out in the water and got the birds and brought them in. Because you can't expect low light, how we hunt, those barrels. You can't expect them to there's a bird. They're not flash. Now, will they be down the road? Yes. But we literally walked out and got the birds. Now, when the light came up and you could see, that's when we started handling our dogs because it gave the dog the best benefit of the doubt, the best opportunity to succeed. All these guys take these dogs home, especially river dogs. River hunting is really, really hard on a dog, really hard. They got to have a lot of courage and they got to have a lot of heart to do it. And then birds come screaming in the right at shooting light. You can't expect your dog to see that. And I always try to tell people, sit outside the blind with your dog, hold on to it. I don't care how well trained it is. Hold on to it. Sit outside the blind with your dog. And when a bird comes in, if that dog saw the bird fall, send it. If it doesn't see it, walk out there and help them get it. Don't just sit in the blind and expect that dog to do it.
Yell and get mad at it.
And then get mad at it. And then call me mad at it because it didn't do well. And you did exactly what I told you not to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well, it's a learning curve for dog and hunter for sure.
It is for sure. And I'm going to tell, like I told you, I've said that story about Breaker 1,000 times. He was the worst 4-time grand champion hunter I've ever, but he ended up being fantastic. It takes birds and it takes good situations to teach a dog how to do it.
You keep bringing up the river, and some people don't understand this. Is dogs when the river with current, they don't understand how. I've seen a dog try to sit there and swim up current for a long period of time because they don't understand the current until they actually practice it and understand. Correct. Oh, I've got to take an angle to the bank. I can't fight. I'm not going to make progress. So
yeah, exactly.
Rivers like that are definitely something dogs need. You need to hold their hand on.
Well, sure. and I always tell people when you if you're going to have a river dog, right, or any hunting situation at all, take a white bumper with you, and if it's hunting slow, simulate a hunting scenario, boom, 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 and throw that white bumper into the current and get your dog out and let that dog look for that white bumper floating through the decoys and floating through the current. Now, if your dog, and this is what happens a lot of times, is people get excited. They shoot a bird and it's floating down the river and it's floating through 6, 8, 10 dozen decoys, right? They send their dog. The dog has no idea where it's going. Let that bird clear those decoys where the only thing floating in the water is that bird. So the decoys away to the right, the bird's out of the decoys. Now get your dog down there and let it see that bird and go get it. Don't just send it into all the decoys. It has no idea what it's doing. And that's why I tell everybody, get a white bumper, throw a bumper out, and when you're practicing, when you're done hunting for the day, then they'll key on that white bumper and watch that bumper float through the decoys.
All right, Ryan Brady, my lab started sticking for the first time at a finished test this fall. I finally got her to give me the duck by pretending to line her up for another blind. What's the best way to deal with sticking? Probably define sticking in case there's people that don't know.
Sticking is when the dog brings the bird back and the eyes glaze over and they just clamp down on it and they will not let it go. They won't let it go. And I'm going to tell you, man, that is so hard to fix. It is incredibly hard. And there's no set way to fix it. Now, at a test or in hunting, it's easy way to fix it. If they do it hunting, you can get onto their butt for it, and stop that stuff. In a hunt test, it's harder to do. We emphasize a sit. I sit with maybe a healing stick, or we use a give command or some other command with some pressure to spit it out. You can do a forced drop, which is, I was talking about Ray Vogt about that at dinner at the Master National, a forced drop where you use low pressure stimulation. Let me think about this right. You use low pressure stimulation, you grab onto the bumper and you say drop or whatever your command is, low pressure stimulation, and when they release it, you let off in the pressure. And then he keeps working on that until he can literally make a dog come back with a bird in training, stop the dog in front of you and say drop, and that dog spits the bird out. Like that's how he did it. But that takes time and repetition. Like you'll take an entire summer off of testing just to work on that, because if you don't fix it, the career is over. It's hard to do. There's no set way to fix it, but a forced drop is probably a good way to do that.
All right, last question, then we're going to close this one out. Donald Knott, what are your thoughts on impulse control? Do you think it's genetic or trained?
I think a lot of it is genetic, because think about kids, your friends. You just know certain people that they're so impulsive. And I'm one of those guys. I walk out of the store and all that crap by the cash register, that's for me. All that crap. I'm like, ooh, a flashlight, a pen, a Sharpie. I'm like, that is genetic. I think a lot of your impulse control is genetic. Now, with that being said, some of it's training as well, because if you don't control the impulses, then it just gets worse, because the dog does whatever the hell it feels like doing. And then I always, this is a good subject so Labradors and Golden Retrievers. So when a Golden Retriever runs a hunt test, say there's a mark over to the right and the wind's blowing across it, but they're running to the mark on the left, and they throw their head up, and the Golden Retriever smells that bird and goes running over to that bird, right? And everybody's excuse for that is, oh, the golden nose. That's what they say. They think Goldens have better noses than Labradors. They don't. I own both. I've been doing it for 25 years. They don't. The Goldens don't have better. And I'm sorry, Golden people, don't hate me for this. I own a Golden, so I understand. Goldens don't have, quote unquote, better noses than a Labrador. Chris Aiken runs some of the like three of the best Goldens I've ever seen in my life right now. They run like a Labrador. They don't have the quote unquote golden nose. What I think that is, the golden nose, is Goldens are more impulsive and they're a little bit clownier. Sometimes they're not quite as intense. And when they smell that, they run over there because that's what they want to do. They're kind of goofy. They have, they're really impulsive. And then the golden owners, it's just a golden nose. And so they don't correct it. Well, Chris doesn't put up with that crap. If that happens, he runs them like a Labrador, and they don't have the golden nose. His dogs run fantastic. And like I said, that impulsiveness, I think, is inbred into them. I think it's like a golden retriever. I think that's genetic. I don't think they got better noses. I just think they're just a little bit more impulsive, and they're a little bit more goofy. They're more clowny. They like to have fun. They're a little bit different. Now, a golden retriever that is super, super intense, like a Flash or a Vader or a Georgie, they don't do that. They don't see that. They don't go, oh, that's a golden nose. They don't act like that. So I think it's an intensity thing, and I think it's just kind of a goofy thing.
All right.
If that makes sense.
Well, we got a bunch more questions we'll have to hit on another episode down the road. But guys, we love the questions. Keep them coming. If you want to add more, it's the Facebook group is where we get these. Also over on Instagram, you can find us over there as well. So good job, Chris. Thanks for hitting all those questions. Interesting stuff.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, keep the questions coming. We'll answer more. We got a really special guest we got to prepare for. Can't wait for Mike. But thanks, Elliott. We'll see everybody at the line. Take dead aim.